But regardless, for me, I think I'm doing all right.
I feel bad having to sideline that movie because that was originally on the schedule this week. Or
Hmm.
next week rather. That was originally on the schedule. And then the following week is Backrooms. The following week is Backrooms, so I want to
I
make
mean,
sure to
that's
touch on
a
that.
Super Bowl, baby.
Yes, it is. That is that's the weird white boy Super Bowl, as I'm calling it. I have coined that fucking term. But yeah, I still would like to touch on I Love Boosters. I don't know much about it. I know it's kind of Spring Breakers esque. It's Boots Riley. That's the director of Sorry to Bother You and I Love Boosters. It's Boots Riley's second movie. So, one of the coolest posters too, I think, of the year. One of the coolest posters, both of them, the minimalist one, the teaser one, and the regular theatrical print with all the faces. Haven't seen the trailer, don't want to, but hopefully I'm going to try to elbow that movie in somewhere, sometime. Joe, I know you're hosting the show. You didn't get a chance to see As God Is, but I appreciate your presence, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I didn't get a chance to see the movie like Steve said. Even though I said I'm doing good, I just been super busy and busy involving stuff with family. That's why I wasn't here last week, and it kind of bled over into this week as well, where I can be here, but unfortunately I just can't participate in the discussion because it was like I had time to go see one movie, and I chose Obsession because in 2025, my friend Luca, who recommended me to go watch Mike, Alice, and Nick, or whatever the hell it was called. He texted me in 2025. He's like, dude, I just saw this movie. I don't know when it's getting a theatrical release. Don't look up anything about it, but it's called Obsession. It is right up your alley. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I'll keep that on my radar. And for a whole year, I didn't know about that movie. And then one day, I went to go see Bone Temple in theaters, and I was sitting there, and the teaser came up. And all it was this guy making a phone call asking if he can change back somebody and if it's actually real, is the love real? And then the teaser ended, and in big bold letters in white text it said Obsession. I went, all right, yeah, that's all I'm going to keep it as. That's all I want to know about this movie. I remember Luca told me about that, and now I am completely sold. So, yeah, I mean, did I see the hype with this movie the way it was? Not necessarily. I knew like it had some hype going into it because of just all the festivals it showed up at and everything. But shit, you could not anticipate the wave that it got from Friday box office, Saturday, and then Sunday. It was just like, whoa! It was like, okay, word does still travel on online and everything. People went to go see it. So I am looking forward to talking about that next week. I am sad that I did miss Is God Is because there was a post I saw this week, and it was like, damn, this would have been really cool to experience this. But it was a thing saying, like, it's been a while since two, like, original movies were in theaters. They had
Yes.
over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. They had something to say about, like, I had a great message behind it, great cast, great writing, all this stuff. It was like, and low budget film too. Like both are like maybe at a moderate. Like I mean, shit. Obsession is at 1 million. I don't know how much the budget was for Is God Is, but it's like they were even saying like it's just like this is exactly like what the writer of I forget what it was American Fiction when he said let's make like 10 movies for 5 million or whatever, and it's just like this is
Hmm.
like exactly the thing we needed. It's like it's summer box office season. I mean, summer blockbuster season. And we're getting indie horror films and we're getting these kind of films before like the blockbusters even come out, which like yeah, you have your first one this weekend with Mandalorian, but like I still look at July as like the real big blockbuster month with all the releases happening that month.
Joe,
Extremely well said.
do you care about the Mandalorian?
So I'm gonna go see it with my dad because he still is obsessed with Star Wars.
Okay.
If it wasn't for that, I'm gonna tell you right now, I probably was just gonna wait for the shit to come to Disney Plus. I really didn't care. I didn't watch season 3 of the show. Star Wars for me has like ever since, even though I thought the movie wasn't that bad, but ever since Last Jedi, it's just gone down, down, and down. I mean, Andor was great, and the first 2 seasons of Mando were great, but
But that's the
yeah,
thing;
it's
it's
just
so different.
yeah,
Andor is the anomaly,
yeah,
so
yeah,
therefore,
yeah.
it's like I don't know if I have faith in anything else now.
And it's funny too because there's been, and I'll wrap this up by saying this, there's been other projects that like I know the Star Wars fans have hated, and maybe I'm just not that big of a Star Wars fan anymore. I'm just like I just thought it was all right, guys. Like it did what it needed to do for me in terms of a Star Wars. So we'll see how I feel about this. But I am gonna try to go see I Love Boosters, because I am afraid that that movie is just gonna disappear, like in an instance between the releases of last week and the release next week. It's like, bro, you are sandwiched between probably the two big horror movies of the year.
100%.
Yeah, my thoughts on the Mandalorian and Grogu. They had a bunch of the popcorn buckets out of my theater on display and everything like that. And my one buddy wants one. And I was asking about like how much they were going to be and stuff like that. And somebody who was at the theater was like, "Are you going to see it?" And I was like, "No, I don't watch TV shows in theaters." You know, they should give. They should give a. I'm being dead serious too. Not to go on this topic. If you are a subscriber to Disney Plus, you should get a fucking rebate for the movie theater. Like you should get at least a $5 ticket or something, a fucking popcorn or something. If you're a Disney Plus subscriber with all the crap they pump out and everything and all the Star Wars stuff, you should get something of a discount.
There's nothing about the trailer that I've seen. Yeah. There's nothing about the trailer I've seen that made me go, "Wow, this is way more cinematic than the show." It just still looks like the show. Like, I mean, it's like the special effects look good, the puppetry looks good, but it's like the show had that. Like, what is so thematic about this? I don't know what the fuck the movie's about.
I remember, I'm old enough to remember, you used to be able to buy like TV dinners. You used to be able to buy like kid cuisine or
and
like go to McDonald's and they give you a coupon to go see Rugrats Go Wild or The Princess Bride
or Spy
2,
Kids.
Royal Engagement. Like, you know the term in shitification. There is absolutely one of the examples right there. You used to be able to buy a kid cuisine meal and get a voucher to go see Princess Bride 2. They can't give you $5 off a $20 movie ticket nowadays. Like, but
He's on the warpath.
at any rate, you brought up Mandalorian and Grogu too, and I'm like, I don't know, I speak English. Anyway, so we are talking Is God Is Today. I know we're starting a little bit later than usual too, but I don't know if this movie, it's no fault of it, but I think this movie is concise enough too that it loans itself to a little bit of a shorter runtime, or a little bit of a shorter showtime rather. This is based off of a 2018 stage play by Alicia Harris.
This movie is based. Sorry. Go ahead.
A little bit. Alicia Harris, though, is the writer-director of this movie. She wrote the 2018 play, Is God Is. And let me just say this. I obviously didn't see the play. I started reading a little bit of it. I downloaded a PDF of it, and I started reading it a little bit because I love reading plays. That's one thing that's one thing I've enjoyed. It's one of the lasting impacts of college on me. Took a playwriting class, and it was great. Love reading plays. Watching this movie, going into it knowing it was based off a play, but I deliberately didn't look anything into it. Watching it though, you know, one of the things you notice about movies that are based on plays is you can kind of tell that they're based on plays because they're often very singular settings, interior settings, mostly inside as opposed to outside.
One Night in Miami is my go-to example.
One Night in Miami, Carnage, the Roman Polanski movie, which was based on a play as well. Dinner with Friends with Greg Kinnear. Passover, the Spike Lee adaptation of it. There's a lot of movies based on plays. And even if you're not familiar with a play, you get the idea of like, this was made for the stage. This is one of those rare play adaptations where I was like watching it thinking, I don't know how the hell this was a play because it's a quest. And there's not a lot of quest stories or road movies or anything or road stories that are made for plays for understandable reasons because of the constantly changing setting. So I thought it was an immense credit to Harris, knowing nothing about the play. The fact that this story, if you didn't know, you didn't know that this was based on a play, just based on how this is structured. The quick cocktail napkin synopsis of the movie is it follows two twin sisters, Racine and Anaya, played by Kara Young and Mallory Johnson. And they are two sisters that are essentially sent by their mother, played by Vivica A. Fox. They're sent by their mother to kill their father. Their father basically tried to burn his wife, their mother, alive in a bathtub when they were very young. And the sisters have scars from this. Racine, and this is important, Racine's scars are mainly on her arm and the back of her neck, her burn scars and her grafts. And Anya, her scars are on her face and on her neck, making her very hard to look at. And one of the undercurrent recurring parts of this movie being that people don't look her in the eyes when they talk to her. And after that, after Mom, who they referred to as God, sends them on this quest to kill their father, played by Sterling K. Brown, and we'll talk about him in a minute. Essentially, then, it's not a road movie in the sense that there's like 8, 9 stops. There's 3 stops in this movie. There's 3 distinct stops, and the textured characters they meet wherein. This is a story about revenge. This is a story about rage. This is a story about trauma. This is a story about healing, and it's contrasted in the 2 sisters. Racine is the rough one. This is how the play refers to them. Racine, the rough one. Anya, the quiet one. Racine is the one who has enough anger for both of them, where Anya, who, again, to remind you, is the more deeply disfigured one from the physical burns and injuries that she suffered at the hands of her father, she is the one who feels like more of the pacifist and is more of like the calming sense of grace that Racine lacks, and vice versa. That's how I'm starting it off. Where do you want to take it, Dom?
Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with the layout of this movie and how much it really has to say. And this feels like a movie where there's going to be like 20 different articles doing 20 different dissertations on all these approaches. You got privilege between the 2 sisters alone. You've got, of course, the Black experience. You've got inter-Black, conflict. You've got, pointing out corruption in and the twisting.
Back and better than ever. It's Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. We come to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening, 6:30 Central Time. Myself, Dominic Guanzon, Joe Viso. Come on in, stay a while. Grateful to be on today to talk about Curry Barker's Obsession. Now, last week, tackled Is God Is, another movie worth seeing, the new Alicia Harris movie. And had I known Obsession was going to be as frickin' buzzy and out of the gate as it was, we would have tackled Obsession last week. But better late than never. I wasn't too upset about it because I figured it was going to hold pretty strong in its second weekend. Well, not only did it hold, it did better in its second weekend than it did in its first. Obsession made 30% more than it did opening weekend in its second weekend. That is fucking unprecedented for a movie that's in wide release. The only time that happens is when a movie gets theaters added, a substantial amount of theaters added, because going from 50 theaters to then 1,000 or even 600 naturally will raise the box office total. It does not happen when you have a movie that's already in 3,000 theaters make more money the second week. That tells you the word of mouth that this thing has is making it be one of the biggest surprises of the year. And as of this writing, or as of this episode, $90.2 million box office haul. Now, there's so much to talk about with this thing. The movie itself, the buzz, the growing awards buzz for Inde Navarrette, the arrival of Curry Barker, a 26-year-old filmmaker. This is his second movie. And also just the incredible response from everybody about this thing. The discourse has been great. We talked about a month and a half ago or so about the discourse surrounding the drama and how I thought audiences, really brought to life that movie, the drama and the discourse about it and everything. And then you have this, then you have Obsession, which, I mean, critics have been raving about this. Audiences are raving about this. This thing has become universally loved. And it's kicking off what I'm calling Weird White Boy Summer, which I will get to in a minute. But we've got a lot to touch on today. I'm excited for it. The movie, its success, really why it's connecting so deeply, and the discourse around it, which I'm happy to see is really, at least how the corners of the internet I've seen, is very thoughtful. But I wouldn't be able to do it without my two good guys over here, Dom and Joe. Joe, how are we today?
I'm just gonna say this. I had a great Memorial Day weekend. Got to relax, got to get ready for the summer. Cleaned out my car, got a haircut, bought new summer clothes. Took advantage of all the Memorial Day like sales happening at some retailers and everything. So saved a lot of money in that sort of way. But it's like yesterday and today. I'm just gonna quote Blink 182. Work sucks. I know. And that's how I'm just going to leave it at that. And maybe I'll tell you guys more in the green room later. But I'm happy to be on the show because I've been looking forward to talking about this movie ever since I saw it. And I thought we weren't ever going to get a chance to even review it. So I was like, man, I can't wait. And this is kind of already hinting at where I have this movie. I can't wait to get to our best of the year because this was a movie I'll probably bring up around that time. Well, definitely will bring up around that time. But I don't know what place yet.
Fair point, D. How are we?
We're doing well. I saw I Love Boosters in theaters this past week, in addition to Obsession. So I did some extra credit, and let me just say, it's got to go somewhere on our schedule.
Yeah,
because I've got a
I
lot
agree.
to say.
I
I've got
agree.
a lot to say.
I'm the tardy one. I still haven't seen it.
You
I'm the
haven't?
no, I'm
Oh,
the tardy one.
okay.
I still haven't seen it. Plan to, but no, I don't mind doubling back in the summer to tackle that one though. So we can touch on that one later on. We would do it next week, but Backrooms is coming out next week. Weird White Boy Summer has to continue. But no, I love Boosters though. Yeah, I want to make time for that. Good on you, getting out to the theater twice.
I mean,
D.
Will Poulter is in I Love Boosters, so it's part of that summer summer
That
theme.
fringe candidate. No, I'll briefly to start with Obsession though. I'll briefly say though, I coined the term Weird White Boy Summer because in the last month you've had Damian McCarthy's Hokum. You've also had Kane Parsons' Backrooms comes out next week, and then you have Curry Barker's Obsession. Now I can't remember if I said this at the end of a show or I said it privately to you guys, but I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, and I feel bad. I wasn't wrong. I was just not as early as I should have been. Where I was saying Backrooms is like the real litmus test for Gen Z filmmakers, the success of a Gen Z filmmaker. Well, Curry Barker also fits that mold too, and he's having a hell of a run right now with Obsession. Curry Barker's 26 years old, from Mobile, Alabama, and famous for got popular on the internet with his sketch comedy company. That's a Bad Idea with his co-star Cooper Tomlinson, who's in the movie, who's in Obsession and plays Ian. And Barker got on the scene, and I wouldn't have known about this without Catherine. We watched this like a year ago. Milk and Cereal, a YouTube movie that they released that they made for like $800, and it was damn good, and it looked good, and it was oddly terrifying. And it was also cool because like their backgrounds being in comedy, they took a premise about two guys that were kind of like them, like Kenny and Spenny type like YouTubers doing like dares and challenges and then having it get progressively darker. And now you have Barker who got not a ton of money, like $750,000 is the figure I keep seeing for Obsession, like $750,000 to make what is one of the defining horror movies in a year with a lot of great horror movies. And this really is his arrival in a lot of ways. And now I saw something too. He got an 8-figure offer for another movie that he hasn't even pitched yet from a studio.
Jesus.
This guy's getting like Kreger like buzz, like Zach Kreger like success, and Barker doesn't. With all due respect to Barker, though, he doesn't have the elongated track record that Kreger had with after Barbarian. Even
Respect to both. Respect to Barker, honestly, but this is a classic line of Zach Kreger crawled so Barker could run.
absolutely now, and then you just see, we'll talk more about this in the box office take of this because there's so much movie to talk about with this, but like the ROI on horror is outstanding. The ROI is just incredible. It doesn't cost a lot for a lot of horror movies relative to other genres and such. I do see some misreporting though about how some people are saying that like this is going to be and this is where younger people, even like a little bit younger than us, kind of hijack the discourse without the knowledge here. And I'm not trying to sound like a get off my lawn person either, but like keep seeing the repeated statement of like Obsession is going to become the first movie made for less than $1 million to gross over $100 million.
Oh,
Fucking Paranormal Activity,
yeah, I was
like
gonna say.
the Blair Witch Project. Like there's
Mhm.
precedent for this.
I wasn't sure if Blair Witch was over 100, but I know Paranormal was. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, they were. Yeah,
I don't know the numbers.
Blair Witch, I think, was like 200. I think 200 million or
Jesus.
so. Like so.
According
I
to
mean,
Wikipedia, 248.
I thought so. I
Holy
thought it was the
shit,
over on
dude.
that. So like, I mean, if you want to say like Paranormal Activity was what, 09. It's been a while. You know what I mean? It's been a long time. Again, I did just a little research. I cannot find another comparable example of what it did in its second weekend, though, to make more money and not add theaters, to make more money than it did opening weekend. So much to discuss, though, and we haven't even really scratched the surface, though. Joe, how do you want to take this? Talk about the movie Obsession. There's a lot that I keep wanting to go to the success of it, but the movie itself is something to behold.
So, back I think when Bone Temple came out, around January. It may have been Bone Temple, might have been another movie that we reviewed on here, but I went to go see it, and all I remember is I got there early, trailer started, and this teaser comes up, and it's Michael Johnston, who plays the character Bear in this movie, and he's in his car, and he's on some hotline, and he's talking to a guy on the other line, and he's asking him, I wish to alter my wish. Why is she like this? Like, is there any way I can change this in some sort of way? And there's just this ominous music. The lighting is, it's very, very mood setting. It's like something's wrong here. Like something's up here. Like this doesn't feel right. And you're just waiting for like something like to jump out at you. And then it just ends. The scene just ends with, him being like, you wish to alter your wish. We can't do that. Do you like the way she is now? And it's just like, what the hell was that? And all it said in big, bold letters, all in caps, Obsession, coming soon. About 3 months later, and I brought him up on this show a few weeks back, my friend Luca texts me, who gets invited to South by Southwest because he has some connections there. And he told me, hey man, here's a list of movies that you got. Nick, and Alice was in one. I Love Busa was in another. He actually got to meet Edson Gonzalez, which is pretty cool for him and everything because she's in both those movies. So she recognized him at like both like viewings of that. But he told me, he's like, hey man, he's like, look, I got to go to the midnight screening of this to end the festival on March like 14th, I think, or it was like to end the day of that night. He told me, he's like, dude, he's like, avoid everything about this movie. Yeah, I'm like, well, I already saw the teaser and it was just this. He's like, good, keep it just as that. So weeks go by and finally here we are. We're in May, or 2 months go by and finally here we are in May. I sat down in the theater. I went to go view it in Dolby, and my mind was blown. I haven't, and Dom, I was worried about you going to see this because, look, I've seen a lot of horror movies, and I'm kind of just like, okay, yeah, like, that was scary, that was creepy, it did a good job. I can't remember the last time I had to watch, and this sucks if you're listening to the show and you can't watch it right now because I won't be able to demonstrate this. It's been a while since I had to watch a movie like this, where my fingers are in front of my face, and I have them spread open so I can still see the screen, but just in case if I'm like, I can't do it anymore, I can easily just close my fingers and be like, I'm done, that's it, I'm checking out.
For whatever reason, I'm not an eyes guy, I'm an ears guy.
An ear? Okay,
I'm
you're
like,
an ears guy, okay.
I have my fingers in my ears, like, oh, no, but my eyes are wide open.
I do the eye thing, and then I start curling up like a ball as the scene continues. This movie reached that to me several times throughout it. I was genuinely surprised at how good the tension building was in this movie. And it's due to three things. One, I think it's really good use of cinematography and lighting that go hand in hand with one another. There's a great use of shadows in this movie. There's a great use of, like, just characters in the foreground, background, whatever it may be, being out of place. The second thing is the performances. There are two performances. One of them specifically deserves her flowers the most. But the two leads here, Michael Johnston, I'm going to butcher her name, and I hope to God I can learn it by Oscar season because I want to put her name on the damn ballot.
Inde Navarrette.
Thank you, Inde Navarrette, who plays Nikki. She is phenomenal. The third thing is there's actual payoff to every single one of these tension building scenes. There's been a lot of horror movies where it's like, it's building up tense. Ah, man, it's just a cat in the cupboard. Like, he's just walking on by and everything. Even with Hook'em, there are moments where it's like, it's tense building, but it didn't really pay off with anything. It was just like, okay, like, we'll see where that leads to later and everything. We'll see if that comes back and everything. Here, it just made my skin crawl. It made me curl up in the ball. It made me look away. I was terrified of almost every moment of this movie where it wanted to scare you. It was accomplishing that for me. There was a moment where a person is just standing in the corner of the room and you can barely make out their face. And when you go online and you look up the behind the scenes of this, it makes sense. But you could kind of just see their cheekbones smiling, but they're having this like wailing cry of pain. And it's just the image you're seeing and what you're hearing is not matching. So your brain's trying to fill in the gaps of, okay, so why am I hearing crying? And why is this person smiling in the corner and everything? And it just was like, I'm so unnerved. I'm so tense right now. Like literally anything. And throughout the whole theater, I just heard people, surprisingly in Dolby too. If you can see this movie in Dolby, which I doubt because of all the blockbusters that are going to be coming out soon. But if you can somehow find a theater that still has it, do yourself a favor, go check it out in Dolby. But still being able to hear people in the audience. This dude behind me went, I can't anymore. I fucking can't. And he turned around in his chair like this because I had to turn around and look at him because I was like, I have to know what this guy's doing. It was just quite the experience on a technical scale and everything. I will get into just, the other aspects of the film and everything very shortly, but technically speaking, I think this is probably one of the most impressive horror movies I've seen in a very long time, and I absolutely loved it. Dom, I'm gonna pass it off to you.
What I really like about this movie is how simple in its disturbing content it is, because there is one supernatural element, which is the wish, which sets off the whole plot. That's it. But they really don't. It's just a pure plot device. We don't need a backstory for the candy. There's no real rhyme or reason for it. We don't need to get into the rules of it all. It's just, here it is. Now you deal with the consequences, and that's the horror of it. So there's just a skosh of supernatural horror. So everything else is disturbingly. Let me just say, this movie deserves like a trigger warning for men who have had toxic girlfriends in their lives. Do not watch this movie if you've had anyone even close to a girlfriend like this or a partner like this. Really, it's just bad. And I don't even need to get too universal with it. I'm sure there's going to be dissertations on like the gender play here, but really, this is a uniquely like female horror led film. In the way that this relationship kind of blossoms, but it still comes from the misogyny of our current climate, which is creeping further. And look, I don't have 2 hours to write my personal dissertation on all of this. All you need to know is that yes, this is a very deeply disturbing movie, despite how simple it is in its filmmaking and its lore, or really lack thereof. There is no lore here. All you need to know is that girl goes crazy, and it's honestly really tragic if you look at it too. Yeah. Which I'm very glad that this film could have been way more on the nose with its with its misogyny, with its like, yeah, the boyfriend's a total asshole in this film, right? And he deserves every single thing that comes to him. But that's not the case here. You really do feel bad for Bear. Um, there's a couple of scenes where it's like, okay, he could have zigged when he should have zagged here, morally speaking, but it really just leaves you with, again, the consequences and the horror and the X factor that is Nikki. And with I guess disturbing is my word of the day here, because truly, man, Joe talked about the scene in the bedroom. There's multiple scenes with the bedroom here in a bedroom. So I guess I'll talk about a scene involving a brick. Again, I will. I'll keep it generic, but that's when, and it comes pretty late in the movie too. But there's a scene that I really enjoy where it's like, okay, this is bare basics filmmaking, just framing, how they set up the framing with this scare, with this moment, and it lulls you into that sense of security, and how it transitions into, it feels like a jump scare at first. Again, I can't really explain this moment too much, but the gentlemen here know what I'm talking about. It feels like a jump scare at first, but really it isn't. When you get, again, just the framing of it and how they lead up to it, and how the in the dialogue there were indirect but very clear, like, hey, this is how this turned out because the bread trail was left behind. Just smart, basic filmmaking all around, which encompasses why I think this movie is a hit with audiences. One, because sadly it's relatable for a lot of people, which is like, hey, yeah, this chick's a little mad, and I think everyone's had some kind of partner in their life. Hopefully not to that extent, but it's relatable in that sense. And two, yeah, the the simple smart filmmaking here truly does pay off in every, as Steve was saying, in every sense. And in those two very very simple reasons, I'm glad that this movie is taking off, because it deserves its flowers. I'm really happy for it.
Yeah, this is a movie that gets going too right away. It's very economical. Like right when Bear, played by Michael Johnson, makes the wish and cracks the one wish willow and wishes that Nikki loved him more than anything in the fucking world. That's the actual quote. Um, it's not like the typical like even these like wish related movies like Wish Upon, or I mean this is like another variation of the monkey's paw story in a
Mhm.
way, you know, where a lot of those movies, the character makes the wish and then it's like a day has to pass for it to change.
Mhm.
This happens instantaneously, and it happens in a great way when Bear breaks it in a car after Nikki is going back to her house, and then all of a sudden she's turning and facing him again, and then it starts. The other crafty thing that they do here, and it's again, it's not explicitly stated. It's just an undercurrent that you start to notice, is that like there's this possession like force that overtakes Nikki that makes her become obsessed with Bear. She loses her agency. But every now and again there's like a glitch, whether it's with her eye, her action, or something, like instantaneously it's like the real Nikki fights back the possessive urge for a moment and like is like regaining herself in a way.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like this internal tug of war. And what this thing does to Nikki, like as this goes on, there's a scene when he leaves for work and she stands in the same spot, and she's like actively rotting. She's like a codependent dog when the owner leaves.
Yeah.
Like she's like an actively rotting person with this. And that's why you get the discourse too. And I agree with it that like the primary villain of this thing is Bear. Like the primary villain of this movie. I mean, and the
Mhm.
funny thing is too is that like there's not there's there's the characters in this movie are flawed in such a way. Like the tragic part of it, what Dom was alluding to too, I think, is that like you get like maybe 15 minutes of the movie or 20 minutes of the movie to see like Nikki's actual personality, and she's like this really sweet, outgoing, like good friend, like even good person too. I think she gives money to a homeless guy in the early part of the movie too. And the other two characters, they all work together at the same music shop. The other two characters on the periphery are Ian, played by Cooper Tomlinson, Barker's longtime collaborator, and then Megan Lawless, too, who's another friend. So they kind of like, there's kind of this quartet that it keeps coming back to. But she almost becomes like this, Nikki becomes like this hollowed out shell of a woman. And her responses and like how she even communicates with Bear become like this sort of like chatbot-esque sort of person, like just a type of just how she like just disintegrates as a human being, and the way Barker shows that without explicitly spelling out is very well done.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about Bear being the villain, being the antagonist, even though it seems like it should be Nikki, and maybe on like a literal level. But when you get into the actual motivations of the characters here, it really is Bear. And I like that it was Bear and that he was portrayed really in a softer way, in a someone who's conflicted about the situation and is on the receiving end of a majority of this abuse. Because the main character easily could have been the one making the wish, could have been the other friend who is just a general kind of a dick, right? It's not as interesting in that way. It would have been too straightforward. It would have been too, okay, sure, whatever. But ultimately, I mean, yeah, I'll just take the 30 seconds to say is that the message of this movie, in how I'm reading it, is that uh, this is what men think they want out of their
Yeah.
partner, and
Yes.
that's and then it shows you how that's in a literal sense an extremely bad idea, right? Because it's monkey paw, classic shit like that. But the misery of it all, thank you, the codependency of it all, Steve, as you were saying, the just like it's not what you think it is, what you think is in your head, what a fantasy love should be, what a romance in your brain thinks it should be, beyond the reality of what you actually have. And I'm not saying you shouldn't explore what's there. I don't think the movie tries to make that statement at all. But to that extreme of, again, what men think they want, or any
Yeah.
partner, right? And that way it does get a little more, gender neutral of, but it does it through the specific lens of a male female romance.
There's a moment too in sorry,
Mhm.
go ahead.
Don't take no, take it.
Oh, there's a moment too in the beginning too where Bear is given an opportunity to actually like state his feelings, and he doesn't take it. And look, I'll be vulnerable here, and I've had those opportunities where it's like just fucking say it,
same.
just fucking say it, and like I chose not to, and then part of me had to like go on now for like months being like, I should have said it then. I could have been in love and all this stuff. I'm weeping and willowing and all this other stuff and whatnot. Meanwhile, there's like a Sarah in my life that I'm not paying attention to, and it's like, bro, it's right fucking there.
Yeah.
Anyways, but like, I agree with you 100%, Dom. To me, I wish I saw this movie like 6, 7, 8 years ago. I'm not even trying to make a 6, 7 joke here when I say that. Like, I really wish I saw it like then, because like even though like 7 years ago that places me at 23 and everything, which is probably the age like or a little bit older than the characters in this movie who I'm thinking like they're about to go to college or like maybe they're like community college age and everything. Because like being a single man, going to college and everything and whatnot, it's like, yeah, I was like, why can't any girl just love me and all this? You have those moments. I think that any guy has gone through. They see another person in a relationship, or they see that person, they know like, it's not possible, or they're too scared, and they just think all these things and whatnot. But the older I've gotten, and I've been in relationships, and I've, met other women and everything, and I've gone on dates and whatnot, and it's just like, oh shit, like, if I could tell my younger self, like, hey, like, it's all gonna work out, you'll find the person when the time is right and everything, like, that is real and whatnot. But B, this is something you should not rush into and just be like, oh, if I can make it work, I can make it work. Oh, this girl is obsessively in love with me. This is what I want. This is always what I needed, because I've been in that situation and it is not fun. Like, you know, and I know like a lot of people like, and I agree too. I do believe Bear is the villain here, and you could paint this movie as, you know, the whole thing of like he is controlling a woman's body, he is controlling a woman's actions and everything, and women can take that and be like, hey, like, you know, this is just, you know, how a lot of people usually use horror as like a way to not cope, but to deal with, you know, anxieties or terrible like things existing in the world, and like a way to examine it, and through a form of entertainment and everything, like a horror movie and everything. But on the flip side, as a guy, I wish I can give this to my younger self and be like, hey, look, like, this is actually what you would have been dealing with had you gone down this route. And like, you know, or in the routes that I did go down, it's like, this is what you dealt with, and you could have avoided it if you would have just plainly been upfront about your feelings with certain people and yada yada and everything. I think it does a great job at exploring both of that. There's so many different ways you can take this wish that Bear makes, and like what, you know, the lesson is to be learned from it, as, you know, the monkey paw lesson and everything that you get from those kind of stories. There's so many different ways you can do that when it comes to surrounding relationships in general. I think it does such a great job at that. I loved all the promotional material too. Like, as much as it's been the promotional material of just like the word obsession, it gives you like the noun and everything and whatnot. I do love, it's been very little of it, but the romantic side marketing, where it's like the Dolby thing is the 2Ds making a heart, but like one hand is completely bloody, the other hand is not, because this does go into relationship issues, like Dom was saying earlier and everything, and it does a great job at exploring the toxicity side that can happen with a relationship like this. It does a fantastic job at exploring that. The last thing I'll say here, and I don't know if we'll be butting up. Oh no, we got 5 minutes still. Okay, good. The last thing I'll say here is I did really enjoy. I know you said you hated Ian and everything, but I really enjoyed the main four. Or you didn't say you hated. No. Great. Not that you hated Ian, but he was like a dick and everything. Yeah. I really enjoyed the main four, and it really feels good to have a young filmmaker actually do a movie with young people, because everybody in the movie felt organic. How they all interacted with one another, they really felt like real people, real young people who would work together, go to trivia nights together, do karaoke together, all these kind of things. In fact, the way Ian was so competitive about trivia nights and wanted to stay focused on it, I'm like, no, that's a real dude. Like, I've been in friend groups where somebody is like that about trivia nights and everything. And how the film progresses, and like, if you ever been in a scenario where somebody in the friend group does start dating someone, and how those dynamics shift. And like, you know, maybe you discover underlying feelings from other people, or things that were happening in the background that you didn't know about, and they were just being hidden from you. It's like, man, like, it really explores that side of it too with a friend group when you have something like this happen. This movie impressively, not like Sinners, where like Sinners is juggling different genres all at once. Obsession, though, is juggling so many topics just related to this like specific thing. Like, okay, like, you know, you can see it fall, like, you know, you can see the damage that it's doing here with friends, you can see the damage it's doing to her, you can see the damage it's doing to him, family, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, damn, like, so impressively written too, to be juggling all of this, and all of it feels like A, part of the story, but B, fleshed out as well and fulfilling.
When we come back, we'll touch on the box office, and we'll touch on Inde Navarrette specifically, since she's obviously getting a ton of praise.
Can we start, because I always fail to do this. Can we start with the music? Just a quick couple minutes shout out with the music coming back.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I was just going to throw into, just going back, because I know Dom mentioned framing and Joe mentioned cinematography. I'll just make this point really quick. This movie's shot in 150 aspect ratio. I thought it was 4:3 at first, which is the letterbox format, not the site, the format. I thought it was 4:3, but it's actually 150, which is not as tight as 4:3. It's a little wider. Typical movies are 16:9. That's typical aspect ratio formatting. This one is 150, so it's kind of like closer to letterbox, not quite widescreen. But it intensifies the framing of Barker. It is purposefully claustrophobically tight.
Yeah.
And then what you have too is then you have a lot of great scenes of like Nikki leering in the background where a character approaches the foreground and the background is blurry, it's out of focus, but you can still see Nikki. You can still see her, and you can see her face looking in the direction of Bear.
God,
And
there's so much good blocking in this movie.
Great
There's so
blocking.
much good, like, it's creepy too. It's like a, do you remember I never saw the movie. Do you remember the trailer for It Comes at Night?
Yes.
Where it's just, I think this is the right movie. The trailer is just going down a hallway for like a minute.
Yeah, Joel Edgerton. Yeah, and it's shot from the back.
It's shot from the back, and it's just, oh yeah, don't break the shot. Don't break the shot, and don't do any like cheap ass shit. Just have movements be scary. And the way Nikki moves and is blocked and is shot is so fucking disturbing.
Embrace the medium length take is what I've said. Like, it doesn't have to be a long take, like three plus minutes, but embrace the medium take. And then you also have scenes where she's it's like a bus shot of her, but it's so indistinguishable though, because the saturation level is low. So what you have is it's like kind of obscures her face and makes her out to be like hard to define purposefully. There's so many of these movies, there's so many of these scenes are shot in like these dimly lit interiors too, which adds the tension and adds the stress. Catherine and I were saying after the movie, I was like, this is stressful. Like, this was a stressful movie between the sound, the depictions and everything, the depiction of obsession, and like the ear-piercing yelling and the situations and the unpredictability of it. Like, this was a stressful movie to watch, especially in the theaters too. And anytime a movie can make you feel those kind of strong emotions is definitely when it's flexing its power on you. We'll be back to touch on music, the box office, and Inde Navarrette, and whether we're going to be saying her name for the rest of the year and into awards season. Don't go anywhere. It's Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube, back very quickly after our Zoom-sponsored intermission. Don't go.
It's ever when things were just so slapdash at the last minute. No, a 3.5 out of 4 stars. This was great.
Really great discussion, guys. We will move forward. Briefly touch on this. I do want to give this a little bit of time because we mentioned it about a month ago, and there's been a not totally an update, but a bigger, more deep dive on it. It's less a news story now, and it's becoming more of a feature. Really, thanks to this excellently made Variety piece by Adam B. Very. It has to deal with the Blair Witch Project actors, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I'm friends with Joshua Leonard on Facebook, so I saw when he posted this initially, this whole thing of calling out Blumhouse and calling out the studio behind the Blair Witch Project as well, which was Artisan Entertainment at the time, for not giving them their royalties and really not getting due compensation for a movie that was generationally effective, made hundreds of millions of dollars, and is still an ensuing cultural staple that now has a sequel and a soft reboot made since then. The title of the article is called "The Blair Witch Project Actors Call Out quote unquote reprehensible behavior after missing out on profits for decades." This is an exclusive to Variety by Adam B. Very. What basically Adam B. Very did was he got the 3 actors, Joshua Leonard, Michael C. Williams, and Ray Hance, formerly Heather Donahue, all together on Zoom to talk about exactly what they are demanding from Artisan, now Lionsgate, and Blumhouse, mainly Lionsgate, because Lionsgate really just came to an agreement with Blumhouse to try to reboot the movie again and make another movie. And it's coming up on the 25th anniversary of Blair Witch. This is the 25th anniversary year of that movie. So basically the 3 actors wrote an open letter to Lionsgate on April 20th requesting quote unquote meaningful consultation on any future Blair Witch related projects that would likely result in the use of their names and faces, and requesting retroactive and future residual payments for the movie, quote unquote, equivalent to the sum that would have been allotted through SAG-AFTRA had we had proper union or legal representation when the film was made. The key point to understanding this is you have to go back to when the Blair Witch Project was made and released. We were young. So when we learned about this, the buzz was long over. But basically, in 1999, the internet wasn't what it was today. This was a movie made on a shoestring budget that got three basically theater actors involved in the production of this movie. They were given cameras and they were given a script outline for what they had to reenact in the woods. And it was the producers and the people, the very few people, limited crew members behind it that were making those sort of stick figure things and hanging them throughout the woods and kind of giving them a guided map on where to go. When the movie premiered at Sundance Film Festival, it was passed off as a real life student movie. And the actors had to go into hiding pretty much after the movie came out for about 9-10 months because it had to make it look like they were missing and presumed dead. Well, obviously, consequently, then they thought, well, we're going to go into hiding. This movie's going to get acquired, which it did by Artisan Entertainment. We're going to get money from this then eventually because they can't work.
Yeah.
They can't really work. They can't work in the entertainment industry, rather, at the time. One of the most moving parts of this long piece is when Michael C. Williams, the actor who plays Mikey in the movie, they all play their real character names. Love my webcam going out right now. Back from our Zoom-sponsored intermission, it is Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube, talking all things Obsession, parlayed into the intermission by talking about Taylor Clemens. I want to give credit where credit's due. The cinematography, Curry Barker's the editor on this too, the framing, the well-designed sets and everything that give way to the claustrophobic framing of this thing, which is in 150 aspect ratio. Dom wants to make a point about the music, and
Just
there are points to make.
Got a shout out to Rock Burwell, an indie, I think first time film composer really at this point, and he's just a general musician. I could be wrong on that because there's not really much about him because he's that indie. And the choice to use synths here in at least the most calming parts of the movie, the romantic aspects. This is very like a indie. Indie sleaze is the wrong term. That's a different kind of subgenre, but kind of late 2010s, 2020s kind of indie laid back synth, very, very light electronic music here was into it's a little Clockwork Orange. That's probably too hoity-toity of me to pull out of my ass, but in the way that it thrives off of the disturbing and kind of effed up themes going on in this movie and imagery as well, and things that Nikki does, and putting it to that kind of a soundtrack, I just really enjoyed. And it's hard to talk about music without examples, but for me, I really enjoyed that. I noticed it in the theater right away, and I was listening to some of the tracks later on, which I don't do too often. And I liked it. I very much liked it. So shout out to Rock Burwell.
Before we talk about the box office, because that's external and not explicitly related to the quality of the film, Inde Navarrette, though, like the Oscar buzz started opening weekend for her. And 5 years ago, it probably would have been a reach. I'm not saying it would have been any less worthy, but it would have been a reach given the fact that horror, while quality, was still didn't establish itself quite like we've seen. Because 5 years ago, I mean, we were post Get Out, post Daniel Kaluuya getting nominated and Jordan Peele getting nominated. But what's funny is that like, and I'm always a fan of like these sort of quote unquote unconventional awards buzz. Like I was all in for Maria Bakalova for Borat 2. I was all in for her getting a nomination. She ultimately didn't. I'm all in for like less conventional suggestions and like campaigns for, traditionally unrecognized type roles. However, though, is that like, I mean, right now we're still so early into the year, but Navarrette's got a legit shot because if you look back at the last 2 years, you had Demi Moore in The Substance, who was chalked to win but didn't. And then you had Amy Madigan in Weapons with Aunt Gladys, probably the most popular horror movie character of last year. Really credible chance that Inde Navarrette does get a nomination for this. The only thing that I think works against her is the same kind of thing that worked for Amy Madigan winning, which is why we're doing our Oscar show. Amy Madigan was the one that I thought I picked to win. Tiana Taylor was the betting favorite for One Battle After Another. My rationale, however, for that was that Amy Madigan was more than a generation older than every other person nominated in that category, and that matters to the Oscars. Navarrette, this is her breakout role. I know she's been in 13 Reasons Why. She was in Superman and Lois, too. But this is like her breakout film role, too. So that's my only fear, is that without much of a track record, I could see the fucking internet is gonna go ballistic though if she doesn't get nominated at this point. Like this is the thing. But I think there is a world that she does get nominated. When, we'll see. I have to see the field, but I'm for it. I'm 100% for it.
I can see what you're saying happening too, where it's like because she doesn't have the track record. But you have to also imagine too, like the Academy, at least for even before like we started acknowledging horror films now, they were doing a good job at like realizing young actresses out there who are having their big break and should be nominated for it. Like Jennifer Lawrence, she was in sitcoms and then she was in what's it called?
But Winter's Bone or something?
Winter's Bone. And like she got nominated for that. You have like there's other ones too. Like you have all the younger actresses like what is it? She was the youngest nominated actress. Little black girl.
Wallace.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wallace.
Yeah. You know, there's that. So you have a lot of actresses that like who have, or even actors too, who do have this big breakout role where they're coming from television side of things into film, and they nail that first film role, and it just skyrockets their career. And I also do think it does help too, and I could see Inde Navarrette like getting more roles after this, of course, because of this role and everything. But I could see it being because like everybody's gonna be talking about this role, and then news of upcoming castings that she's gonna be in start to come out as well around Oscar season, Oscar buzz, and that just helps push her forward to be on the ballot at least. Look, for me, I mean, like, yeah, if I had any say in it, she's on the ballot and she's got my vote. I want to see her. I know we're only in May. We're not even technically halfway through the year yet. Like, we haven't reached June. But, like, I don't remember a performance in a horror movie that really made me go, it really made me feel like this. Yes, Amy Madigan was creepy in Weapons and everything, but there were other aspects to her character and everything, and how she played against the younger actor in that film as well, the kid that the movie focuses on at the very end. She did make me feel uneasy and everything there. And Toni Collette, who should have been nominated for Hereditary, same thing. Everybody, another one also people throw out there is Lupita Nyong'o for Us. She was great in that movie for sure. So it's just like there have been other horror actresses that like, you know, definitely like, you know, there have been times where it's like their performance made me feel unnerving, or like there's a moment where it's like that's outstanding. To me, Inde Navarrette from beginning, I shouldn't say from the beginning. I mean, from the beginning she was acting really good because it shows you the side of Nikki that she eventually loses. But when the wish is snapped and it starts from that point forward, every time this girl was on screen, I was nervous. I was like, oh God, what's going to happen next, dude? Please get me out of the room.
And the thing that makes her performance so remarkable too is the fact that, like, you know, a performance like this, you could definitely, an actress could embrace a campier tone for it. Yeah. And it would be, and it could still be successful. It very well could. It could be entertaining and successful. Navarrette embraces it for being horrifying. And I've seen like the Obsession cast is like so wonderful. I actually followed the Obsession Instagram because
they're a lot of fun to watch. And
they are. They're so great. They're so great. They truly look like a lifelong friend group.
Yeah.
That just happened to come together. And I know Barker's had connections with, you know, Tomlinson and I think even Lawless in the past. But like, you watching them together though, and it's like funny, like, because Navarrette, she said in one of the behind the scenes videos too, she said that she, like, her family, she always felt like the odd person out because she was not a fan of horror movies, but her family was. And she got a lot of inspiration from another queen of the genre, Mia Goth in Pearl. She got a lot of inspiration from her to get this role right. And it's funny though that like even somebody and actors, I mean, part of the reason actors and actresses surprise us is based on their abilities too. For somebody not having a real proclivity or even like a natural gravitation to horror, for her to pull off this kind of a role and embrace the horrifying nature of the role and the humanity and the lost humanity within, that's what propels it over the edge for me. And to like, it's more than just a great performance in a horror movie. It's just a singularly great performance on a human level of how she's able to mine Nikki and make her like. Now what's funny too is that like I think of a mon I think it's going to become something of a mononym now of like saying in a character in a movie, oh, she's like Nikki, and you're just going to know who you're referring to, which is pretty incredible given the fact too that like, oh, she does have a last name in it, she does have Freeman in it, but still like you have a character now who I think might become a piece of terminology for the genre.
I do want to say that I have like almost concern for for Navarrette, because it's like, oh, I hope she doesn't get pigeonholed into one, that role, and two, no one else remembers her except for being the crazy chick from Obsession.
I hope not either. That would
I
suck.
hope not either.
Because like you could see the potential of like she's got range, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it'll happen, but I just want to say, man, I really hope it doesn't happen. Just going real quick back to the Oscar, the awards thing. I'm not saying this is what should happen, but I am saying that if Demi Moore couldn't land it for The Substance, I'd be. I mean, again, maybe a case of Demi Moore needed to walk so all these other young actresses, including Navarrette, could run and win that award. But I don't feel like she's gonna get it, because this is more of a horror movie than The Substance. The Substance, you could.
That's true.
I mean, it is a satire, but like you could argue it's not as much of a horror as Obsession, which is like horror with a capital H. Whereas Obsession could be like, or I'm sorry, Obsession is horror with a capital H, whereas The Substance is the horror, body horror, but it also plays as a send up of Hollywood, a big parody and satire of that as well. So again, that's just playing the game. I'm not saying that what should happen, but
I do see what you're saying there, and I would agree had it not been for Weapons last year being like that is like a capital H horror movie. That is straight up. I was like, yeah, Noah Adam's right. Like he's kind of right.
I didn't watch Weapons.
And then like it was cycling through my head. I'm like, wait a minute. No,
I'm missing critical info because I was too scared.
But I mean, to your credit, you're kind of. Demi Moore, I think, did open the door for Amy Madigan to walk through and get the Oscar, because it was like, I don't see the Oscars even glancing at horror had it not been for The Substance and Demi Moore's performance, to where the following year we got something just as good with Amy Madigan's performance in Weapons, that they went, okay, you know what? Hold on. This needs to be acknowledged, because this was a standout. A lot of people in that community of horror, fans and all, were talking about this, that it generated enough buzz that it got to that point and everything. And I feel like, yeah, again, it could be a domino effect from Toni Collette to Lupita Nyong'o onward down to eventually, yeah, Amy Madigan winning the Oscar, and let's see what happens else, like, you know, down the line too. So yeah, that is potential too. By the way, other actress that I was trying to remember, I was like, there's somebody who was like barely in anything, actually an actor now, but Elliot Page for Juno. Like, you know, it's just like, that was one that I was like, there's one more out there, and I couldn't remember.
The other thing I'll add too is like with Inde, it was immediate, like the response she was getting and the, you know, people talking on social media about Nikki. What was funnier too, and I know like with the industry, this doesn't, you know, it matters a little bit, but it doesn't really matter because it depends on who studios want to push for awards. When talking about Weapons, I said that like I could see this getting a writing credit, like a writing Oscar. And even Brolin. What's funny is though, is that like on social media, now you see it a lot because it's recognized, and a few months later you did. But Amy Madigan was the secret of the movie, so you
Yeah.
didn't really want to talk too much about it or share photos because she was the secret of the movie. They deliberately hid her from the marketing, even too, because her appearance and everything wanted to be a true surprise. And the last thing I'll note too, I just
Boy,
saw
was
that-
it.
I just saw this too. Nikki from Obsession has her own Wikipedia page now too, and I'll say this great nugget here because we're living in what I'm starting to call the bullshit era of all bullshit on the internet. Navarrette confirmed that Nikki's screams, facial expressions, and vocal changes were performed practically without CGI or the use of artificial
Yeah.
intelligence. I figured as much, but I think it's worth noting. Like I feel like it's worth noting because the other thing you're seeing now too is that like that scene of her with the Joe mentioned it, the Uncanny Valley makeup,
Yeah.
which is really fucking good, which is really
Dude,
good and
man,
gotta be hard to pull off.
Seeing that scene behind the scenes like that they released already, I'm like, dude, I never want to see that thing ever again. Like, it's just like I never want to look at that thing in daylight or in like perfect lighting because like keeping in the shadows, you did me a favor. You scared the hell out of me, but if I would have seen that thing up close, I would have screamed.
And then lastly, too, before we end things, we can just talk briefly about the box office for this movie, which again, I know I kind of talked about it a little bit in the beginning too, just how unprecedented it is. Opening weekend, it was projected at 8 to 10 million opening weekend. It made 7 million in its first day. And then it debuted to 17.2 million. It finished behind Michael and Prada 2, which were from the previous weeks. So then over the 4-day Memorial Day frame, $32 million. Now, I know I said a 30% increase from last year. Well, you can talk about, well, they had an extra day. You look at the 3-day, because I saw this on Sunday haul, or the Friday to Sunday haul, 23.9 million over 3 days, a 30% increase from opening weekend. I didn't even need Memorial Day to get over the hump. That is, like I said, I keep saying it, unprecedented for a movie that was out in every major theater, in every major market the previous week. It wouldn't be as noteworthy if it was even 600 to 1,000 theaters. It wouldn't be as noteworthy. It's at over 3,000 theaters right now. Theaters have added showtimes, like 4 additional showtimes for this thing in the last week, given the buzz. And that's something that I don't think was at all expected. And when you consider some of the truly great horror movies that we've gotten over the years, Sinners didn't do it, Get Out didn't do it, Us didn't do it, Weapons didn't do it. There's so many. Long Legs, and that was buzzy as shit for months. Long Legs didn't do it. You know, I've always said that box office isn't intrinsically tied to the quality of a movie. I feel like box office tracking is its own Olympic sport right now. But it does show you, and it's kind of alluding. I think Joe said this on the air too. Like, I don't think so much now, but a month ago, people were underestimating the hell out of what Backrooms is going to do. Like, people
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna do for the back rooms.
I brought that up because, not to get sidetracked here, but I play Box Office Fantasy League, and I chose the movie because I was saying, because I chose Obsession as well. I said, I feel like if Obsession is as good as I'm hearing it is, that it will tee up Backrooms to have a box office smashing run. And I feel like this movie's box office success, God damn it, Boots Riley, I feel so sorry for you to be sandwiched between these two movies. Obsession, having the box office run it's having now, is just going to tee up Backrooms to just kickstart off summer even like better than ever. Like, yeah, Mandalorian Grogu's out there and it's making, its money and everything, but throughout the rest of June, it's nothing really till about Toy Story 4. Toy Story 5. I almost said 4. It's nothing until really about Toy Story 5 comes out. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I mean, that's a children's animated movie. So there's still going to be something that like horror fans want to go see. And I'm pretty sure both these movies will still be in theaters that they might be like, screw it, I'll go for another viewing just to see that again.
Gen Z movie attendance in 2025. Now I know the line between, I know like we're right on the edge of like the millennial Gen Z. We kind of like teeter in between. I think the cutoff's like 96 and I was born in 96. But Gen Z moviegoers increased by 25% in 2025. I wish AMC provided the data of like the age demographic of their A-list subscribers, because I would be willing to bet that the majority, whether it's 51% or higher, I don't know, but I'm willing to bet just anecdotally, the majority of AMC A-list subscribers are under 30, or 30 and under. And what you're seeing now too, and I think this is a big part of why this year has been so great and lucrative for movies. Gen Z's going out to the theater, and Gen Z
Yeah.
doesn't go out as much either, and just in general. And they're going to the theater, and you're seeing now, like after several years of the pandemic and everything, making theaters like fight for relevance and close, and the negative impacts of the industry, you're seeing it not just come back, but flourish. And it bodes extremely well. And this is what, I don't want to be too hyperbolic here, but this is where I brought this up before. This is where Hollywood can get back this creativity element that they have been missing for so many years. Insofar that, like, I bring up what Gaspar Noir said, the filmmaker Gaspar Noir made Enter the Void, what he brought up at a festival. And he said, you're seeing a lot of young people now turning to podcasting and turning to video games and Twitch, because he said Hollywood doesn't take a chance on a 25-year-old Steven Spielberg or a 22-year-old M. Night Shyamalan. And the times that they have recently, like Josh Trank, have backfired tremendously. So he said you're seeing younger people get away from movies to go do other creative ventures where the break-in level is easier. To see guys like to see people like Curry Barker and Kane Parsons, who I think has next. Even Alicia Harris, too, with Is God Is. She's young, too.
Yeah.
Boots Riley's another great example. He's just not prolific. He's just not as prolific. He was really young when he made Sorry to Bother You.
Boots Riley is the ultimate like underground out of all of everyone you're listing. He's just a rebel. And if you watch I Love Boosters, he's a rebel. Straight the hell up. But anyway,
you're seeing what I think you can see now, though. And again, like, I know Backrooms is a little bit loftier budget because it's A24 now, and they've been able to bankroll bigger. But like Obsession, though, you tell me that, like, to a studio executive, they're not thinking, like, if we give one of these TikTok people who has, I'm not just saying anybody, but if you give one of these like DIY YouTubers $1 million, a budget, 64 times the size what they're used to working with, and you can get an ROI comparable to this, or even, I mean, shit, 20 million would be a tremendous ROI for something like that. And the marketing too, cheap. There was no Super Bowl commercial for Obsession. It was the phone number. It was the billboards. You know what I mean? Like, same with Backrooms. The marketing.
It was the
element of it,
Discord game.
yeah, like, you can find, you can mine. You don't need a Super Bowl commercial. It's not fucking Disclosure Day. Like, so that's what really gets me optimistic here, is that this feels like a watershed moment. I was thinking it was going to be Backrooms. It really is Obsession, and then Backrooms is going to double up on it, and consequently this weekend.
Yeah.
It's this watershed moment for young filmmakers of all ilks. I mean, fucking Mobile, Alabama. That's where Curry Barker's from. Not the son of Clive. Not the son of Clive either. But just tremendous. Now you see why I wanted to make this, why I wanted to give this movie its own show.
Sure, absolutely.
No disrespect to Boots. I will, like I said, we will come back to I Love Boosters, however soon. Obsession for me is solid. I probably should bump it up just because of the effects, but I have to go with what I gave it. It's 3 out of 4 stars, 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So I really, really liked it. We'll go Joe then Dom for closing thoughts.
It's 4 out of 4 for me, man. I love the movie. I had a great time with it. I'm just gonna say that we talked about how much we loved it. We went with a box office performance of Inde Navarrette and the Oscar buzz around her potentially. I'm gonna say this right now, though. This summer, do yourself a favor. Go support these original movies. Go support movies like Is God Is, like I love boosters, especially I love boosters. Boots Riley really needs it. He really made a statement where he's like, if I don't make money, this is over for me. Obsession, Backrooms. And yes, yeah, you're probably like, well, they're not original ideas. They are, okay? They are original ideas. They're not based on anything. Yeah, Is God is based on a play, but to adapt that, especially after what you guys were saying and what that movie is, to take the stage play version of that and actually make it into a film seemed a lot more complicated for a debut director. Like, that's insane. Do yourself a favor. Try to go see 2 of these this summer. In a summer where it's going to be packed with the big blockbusters like Mando, Supergirl, all that. Not that you shouldn't go see those movies. Go have fun this summer, for sure. Go do that. The world sucks right now. Go have a little fun for 2 hours on an adventure and everything. But go do yourself a favor and support something original and really expand your horizon. And if you're a person out there saying they don't make anything original anymore, you're fucking lying to yourself. 4 out of 4 stars.
I saw this tweet a while ago, and it reminds me of my dad. It said people that haven't seen a new movie in 20 years have a lot of opinions on what movies are like
today.
now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have never seen a better argument for funding the Food and Drug Administration than this movie. Look, Obsession feels like it's a watershed somehow. But it's not. The film itself doesn't feel all that groundbreaking, and that's not putting it down. It's just a really good movie.
Yeah,
but it's not like a Get Out, where Get Out was like, oh, that was profound. What it was talking about race and basically the black experience in America, right? And it's like, damn, that's profound. It's got a lot to say, and I can't wait for the YouTube dissertations on this movie. But Obsession doesn't feel all that profound. It's just good, really good directing, good score, good acting, and blocking, and framing, and clever writing. And it's just holistically damn good. And it's hitting things perfectly in the zeitgeist, in the culture, in all the ways of these demographic shifts and what we were talking about earlier with the box office and the stuff. It's a movie that was in the right place in the right time and doing all the right things. And I am so happy that YouTubers now, and I include Zach Kreger as a YouTuber. I include Zach Kreger as a YouTuber. He is technically even though he made his bones on television, right? Like, what was it? Fuse TV,
IFC,
yeah, which was in the corner of all the YouTube rips of sketches from Whitest Casino. I'm so glad that I say YouTuber because it's YouTubers,
Markiplier,
really just indie. Exactly. Thank you. That was the other one I was thinking of. But really just indie filmmakers. I'm glad that they're really getting their flowers now, and I'm just echoing what these gentlemen are saying. I cannot wait to see what summer brings us. This is going to be a really good year for movies.
Yeah,
it has been so far.
It really has been so far, for sure. Like I'm excited to go see back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you're rating. You're rating.
That's it. 3.5 out of 4 stars. Yeah.
Catherine chimed in too. You said Obsession wasn't groundbreaking. Yeah, more confirmation you hate women.
You got me.
More confirmation this show hates women. Nobody hates women like we do. Also too, I haven't seen it yet. We didn't see any movies this weekend. Passenger is another horror movie that's out now, and been here. I haven't looked at the reviews. What stray shit I've seen hasn't been the kindest though, and probably the most damning thing I saw that came across my feed this weekend was somebody said seeing Passenger the week after seeing Obsession was like drinking orange juice after
after breakfast.
Brutal. And then also there was one other comment I was going to make about box office hauls. Oh yeah, real quick. Just looking at the numbers too. Also, you look at what's been happening over the last couple of weeks. We live in a world too. There's a new Star Wars movie out, which I don't care about the marmalade and the Grogan or whatever. But every time I say it, because my buddy's a huge Star Wars fan, every time I text him about it, I change the two around. You know what I mean? I'm like I don't care about Morpheus and Crocster. You know what I mean? But anyway, we got a new Star Wars movie out that's doing decent relative to Star Wars. Obsession, which is getting bigger. Michael is hanging out, 300 million domestically, and we still live it. All this shit's out right now, and everything's making money, and there's still room for a really fucking wholesome movie in The Sheep Detectives. There's
Yeah.
still room. 43 million Sheep Detectives so far in America, which is awesome to see too. That's a great movie. That's going to be one of those movies too. I'm waiting when that comes on Hulu or whatever the hell it comes on. When it comes on Hulu or Netflix or something, that's gonna take it up another level. Same with Paddington. I feel like Paddington, once it went to streaming, is when the first one when it really caught on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so germane and comparable to Paddington. We didn't talk about it on the show, but I got to give Sheep Detective some love.
Sheep Detective 2 coming next year.
You know, is it or is that?
No, I'm just saying because when Paddington caught wind
oh yeah
on Netflix, it was like greenlight that sequel, go.
One of the great quotes of the last decade from Paddington 2, Brendan Gleeson. I still love saying this quote. I don't do nothing for nobody for nothing. That's our show tonight. Obsession. Go see it. Keep it going. Keep the ball rolling on this. Next week is Backrooms. And what's going to be fun, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Dom or Joe, I don't care which one. You can fight amongst yourselves.
I won't be hosting, unfortunately.
Oh, that's right. You're not going to be You're not going to be So Dom's going to have to take this responsibility then, too. I've educated myself over the last few months on the concepts of backrooms and kind of unaware that I was already married to it in a way or enjoying it like at liminal photography and liminal spaces and whatnot. However, I know Dom's got a deeper background on it, so I want you to introduce it next week.
Okay,
Concept, however you want to take it. I want you to be the one to introduce it because I'm still learning about the wonders of the backrooms here. So I'm super pumped for this one, and I think
all you need to know is that there are two canons, and Kane Parsons clearly chose one, which I'm glad he did. Well, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm pretty sure he chose one, and I'm very glad for it. So that's all you need to know.
Level.
I didn't know there was two. Holy shit! I'm glad Dom's
doing
it then.
Okay, it's all. No one ever made it started as a 4chan post, so there's no like official canon, but there's two very like streams of the schools of thought here. Two interpretations, basically.
Okay.
All right.
The first backroom was in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and that's what I call Midwest representation. That is our show tonight. Thank you so much for watching. As always, go see Obsession in theaters now. Damned if they put this thing on video on demand too early. Damned if they do that. Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, yours truly. This has been Sleepless with Steve.
live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.